I don't understand, sir.
Sir, that land is held by the Germans.
Germans have gone. Don't get your hopes up.
And the thing I thought was just so phenomenal was the realism of it. I hate to say war's entertaining, but it does entertain you in the same time.
There's no point during the time you're watching this movie where you're not in 1917. Hi, welcome to BRIT FLIX. I'm Paul.
And I'm Kelly.
And this is Two Buck Chuck. And Kelly,
Right
this week we're talking about a brand new movie.
Really? What's it called?
It's called 1917.
You said brand new.
I know, it seems ironic, but it is brand new.
Yeah.
It's the brand new Sam Mendes film.
He directed it and
wrote it.
Co-wrote it,
Yeah,
right?
Which apparently he wrote it based on stories that his grandfather, Alfred, told him.
Pretty amazing.
Who had been a courier in World War I. He was 5'4", so he's small enough to get through the enemy lines, but that was his job.
Wow.
What we see in this movie was pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I read that he said his grandfather was in the trenches, apparently, in World War I, and would constantly wash his hands.
Did he?
Yeah, because I guess he couldn't get clean in the trenches. It's dirty and disease-ridden and rats and whatnot, so I guess it affected him.
So for the rest of his life, it was never clean again. And so we're gonna talk about this movie, which stars George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman, with cameos by Colin Firth, Benedict Cumberbatch, Richard Madden, and Andrew Scott.
It takes place on an April day, April 16th in 1917, during World War I, as a regiment assembles to wage war deep into enemy territory. Now, these two soldiers are assigned to race against time and deliver a message that will stop 1,600 men from walking straight into a deadly trap that the Germans have set, which would be just annihilate the whole regiment. So and one of the persons in that group is the brother of one of the messengers who has to take the message over to stop the attack. So it's right away there's tension from the very beginning.
Yeah, so the thing that's amazing about this movie is that it starts with them, taking a break in the field, sleeping,
Right. Yeah.
and they kick the boots and wake them up and
Like, sorry, Sarge.
And one doesn't want to go.
And one doesn't want to
"Oh,
go.
well, this is stupid. We don't want to go.
And he doesn't have to go. That's
No.
the thing that's interesting. I love the fact that he does.
That's right.
He says,
Pick a man. Bring your kit. Yes, Sarge.
Yeah.
and he picks that friend, and you have no idea
Yeah.
what you've been just enlisted into. And I love the fact that through the movie he reminds him of that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be here.
right.
You know,
Yeah, so-
I love
yeah.
that. But they're given this this monumental task of going through no man's land
Yeah.
to deliver this message to a regiment that might not accept the
Right.
message
the guy
that they're
said-
sending.
Yeah, the guy, he
They're
says the
told
guy
that.
might, depending on what mood you catch him in.
Depends on what day it is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And they'd already sent some people over, I believe, when we get there. Then they had sent some
They
people
tried,
up over the
yeah.
top. But the tension of going across that no man's land, he builds it so well because it's just hard to imagine people having to do it because they don't know that the Germans have gone from their trenches.
Yeah.
They think they're still there. And to go down through those shell holes and to see bodies and the set designer really did an excellent
Incredible.
job making it look so
Absolutely.
real.
Yep.
And at one point you see a face sticking out of the mud. That's all
right.
you see is the
it's
face.
just embedded in the
Yeah.
mud.
Oh, God.
Yeah, the thing that's really impressive about, and there's so many things that are impressive about this movie. There's no point during the time you're watching this movie where you're not in 1917.
Right.
They capture the moment.
Yeah.
The horror that these guys had to go through.
Yeah.
Perfectly, and it's at times entertaining. Because their banter, the banter between them is very, very good.
When they go into with the rats, remember, and the things hanging from
that's
the
right,
from
yeah.
the ceiling. Yeah,
Yeah.
And that was kind of funny. Cause
Yeah.
there's a lot of gallows humor in war.
Yeah.
People, I want you to survive. I have a fascination with wars. For someone, I watched the World War II stuff, and World War I, because I just don't know how those people did it. I don't know how the conscripts, basically, they were draftees, and they're thrown into the middle of this carnage, and they somehow, acquit themselves very well. I don't know if I could do it. I really don't. My uncle was in World War I. He was apparently gassed and he was bald. I was totally bald and stuttered. I don't know if that was from the effect of the war, if he stuttered before that. I don't know, but sure he was in Harry Truman's outfit, actually.
Was he really?
Yeah,
that's
World War I,
amazing.
yeah. But anyway, that's what this film was about, and the thing I thought was just so phenomenal was the realism of it.
The movie starts and they're in this field, and these two soldiers are asleep, and they get their order. From that point on, it's one shot from the start of the movie
All the way down through those trenches.
into the office where Colin Firth is. What he wants to see them about is that they've got to go save 1,600 people.
Right.
You know,
From certain death.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's the most simplest of stories.
Yeah.
And a most complex film.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing.
But I thought it was interesting because, you know, you could say, well, it's kind of like Saving Private Ryan because they had to go find Private Ryan to bring him back because this kid. But this kid, this one soldier's brother, is in an outfit that's going to attack the Germans, which they think is right, but apparently the Germans have snuck over to where they're going to be, and it's going to be a slaughter. But God, the set, I mean, the production design was just phenomenal to me. I mean, it just looks horrible.
Yeah.
It looks horrible.
From the start of the movie, and I think that's what the long shots do.
Right.
The you know, because it really is impressive. The cinematography that Roger Deakins does.
God, it's great.
Is that it takes you. You feel like you're with them on the ride for the entire movie. The two actors that star in this movie, George McKay, who plays Lance Corporal William Schofield, and Dean Charles Chapman, who plays Lance Corporal Thomas Blake. I'm assuming they have extensive stage background because of the long shots. You know, it's one thing.
True.
It's one thing to shoot a scene and get the emotion at that moment.
Yeah.
But if you started 10 minutes over there in the field,
and you're still shooting,
and now you're over here and having a whole different emotion.
Yeah.
These kids do an amazing. I mean, everybody does, but I mean the two actors. I give Colin Firth credit because, you know, he's age appropriate.
Right.
You know, he's not trying to look like a 20-year-old, Mr. Darcy.
And age well, by the way. I wish I could age that well.
Yeah, I know.
He's wrong.
And the same with Cumberbatch. You know, when Benedict Cumberbatch shows up, he's not the Benedict Cumberbatch you think you're going to see.
No.
I have heard it all before.
I thought the airplane sequence was brilliant. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had a real. I mean, you can see the dogfight in the background,
Yep.
and then you see the plane disappear, and then you don't expect to see it, and then it comes over the hill.
Yeah.
There was only one woman in the film.
Yeah, the French one, right? Yeah.
It's just hard to imagine that people went through that sort of stuff, you know, that sort of horror. And I think this film depicts it pretty well, especially when that point where he's kind of behind the line, basically, and he goes in that building, which was so well lit, and so well, the tension built, and then he ends up running, and that where he's running from those people, and they're chasing him. Just the cinematography, like you say.
Wow, it was amazingly done. Roger Deakins did an amazing job.
You mentioned his credits.
Barton Fink, Shawshank Redemption, Fargo, Courage Under Fire, Big Lebowski, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Beautiful Mind. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to predict this is number 2. I think he wins his second Oscar for this movie.
Well, there's a lot of really good movies out today, but to me that was the achievement was really amazing.
Incredible.
If that's what they give you for the achievement in cinematography.
Well, I think this movie is probably the most realistic version of war that I think I've ever seen. I think I put it up against anything.
The only other film sort of like that about World War I was Gallipoli.
Yeah.
And that was
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson's first big kind of role or breakout role, but he had a small part in it. But the same thing, they just went over the wall to certain death.
Yeah.
Certain death.
Yeah.
How do you propel somebody to get over that wall? How come people say, bullshit, I'm not going over there. Are you crazy?
Well, Kelly, it's no doubt to me that why this movie is winning so many awards.
Yeah,
It's
sweeping the awards.
The Golden Globes, the SAGs, the BAFTAs, it'll win the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I think it deserves it. It really is.
Yeah, it's a brilliant film, and it's I hate to say war is entertaining, but it does entertain you in the same time. It takes you right into
educates
it.
you know, too.
Definitely, yeah.
It's edutainment. Is that what they say?
I never. That's a new one.
Did I just make that up?
You did. You just made it up. I think it's good, but
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm Paul,
I'm Kelly.
and this is Two Buck Chuck, and we definitely give 2 chucks up to.
Definitely 2 chucks up to 1917. Sam Mendes' great epic.
What a fine film.